All right, what's going on, Banter fan? Welcome into today's edition of In the Game. I am your host, Hustle, and today we will be diving once again into the NFT industry as I am joined by Bryan Ottens, the founder and CEO of Opus Labs. And we are going to dive into kind of the bridge between Web 2 and Web 3 businesses and where we see the utilization of NFT technology in traditional businesses. So, Bryan, how are you today?
I'm doing really great, Johnny. Thanks so much for having me as part of your podcast.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you on. I think the insights and the experience that you bring to the table are going to be invaluable for people to hear and kind of feed off of. So I'm excited to have you. And if people don't know, who you are and your background, if you kind of just want to give people a little bit of a brief overview of your business history and how you got into the Web3 space.
Yeah, fantastic. I've been pretty much described as a serial entrepreneur. I own 8 different companies now, and they're kind of spanned across different industries, primarily in the music business, where I have most of my network and my largest company is. So the collective group of those companies does over $150 million a year in annual sales. The largest is a company called the Peter E. Schmidt Company, if anybody wants to look it up. But we're a rep firm, an independent rep firm in Metro, New York, that represents some of the leading brands in the professional audio, video, and music industry. That company is actually going to be 100 years old in 4 years from now. So I've got quite the legacy, the 4th generation of ownership of that business. And it gives you an idea of the kind of the deep-rooted relationships that I have in the music business, which is a primary focus and target for Opus Labs, which we'll get into. It's the new NFT brand that we're creating.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I mean, all the business experience, I think it's something, and we talked about it on the show yesterday too. It's like that's something that's missing in the space. It's very absent. So many people treat their NFTs and their projects or their coins as just like a rush to a product launch, but they don't understand that they have to deliver for their holders,
Mhm.
similarly to how a business has to consistently meet expectations, meet deadlines, et cetera, for their shareholders. So I think that, that business experience weighs heavily as far as especially what you are trying to do for traditional businesses. And with that, if you want to elaborate on the music industry side of things, because I believe Opus Labs will have a big emphasis on the music side of things as well. So what's the background on that?
Yeah, so just a little bit more of my involvement in the music industry. Obviously, I've got these decades-long relationships with these music brands. I'm also on the board of directors for an organization called NAMM, which is the National Association of Music Merchants. It's the largest trade show organization globally in the music business. So to be on the board of directors, it's a really prestigious spot. It gives me kind of unbridled access to some of the biggest names in the industry. What we're going to be doing with Opus Labs is, and this is an overused term, but bridging the gap between Web 2 and Web 3 companies. The focus is primarily going to start in the music business because that's where my network, my credibility, and kind of my own brand has been. And so I'll have the seat at the table to be able to have these conversations. If I were cold calling people and saying, "Oh, I'm Bryan. Let me tell you about how NFTs can change your business strategy," it's not going to fly. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be targeting music manufacturers. So not music labels, not artists, not producers, but we're going to be targeting the brands that make all of the product and the gear. And what I found is, and we all know this in this space, is that there's so many use cases and great utility and value for NFTs that we're going to bring that technology to their legacy business model, and we're going to revolutionize their go-to-market strategy. So Opus Labs is going to be an A to Z solution for everything that they need to successfully launch an NFT project, utilize blockchain technology into their legacy business models. I mean, it's a vast opportunity for us because I believe that this is going to be an integral part of all businesses in the near future.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of applications within a business that NFTs could fit into. And as far as music or beyond, where do you see as far as traditional businesses? What would you see as the biggest opportunities for businesses to move into the NFT space? Because I think Chevy just did like this Corvette NFT thing, and it really flopped. Chris Brown recently just did his NFT drop, which I didn't even know about until it was headlines that it failed so badly. So a lot of people also fail on the rollout plan. But what would you see as the biggest avenue for businesses to move into the NFT side of things?
It's a great question. Again, kind of why I'm uniquely positioned in this spot is because of my vast knowledge in the Web3 space and my understanding of what works and what doesn't in their go-to-market strategies in the Web2 space. So for me, if you provide the right utility and value added to your NFT collection, and it really will vary from brand to brand, but it offers you the first time to really truly have a two-way conversation and engagement with the end users and the fans of your brand. So I won't go into all of the different opportunities for an NFT launch per se. I mean, we could take examples, and I can give you examples of what each brand might utilize. It could be access to limited edition products. It could be access to virtual and in real life events. It could be access to AMAs with the people that actually make the equipment. Let's say it's a guitar manufacturer. You can get tours of behind the scenes where all the exotic woods are chosen and all of that. I mean, there's a million different options for value that you can assign to it. But beyond just an NFT launch, if you look at blockchain technology and NFTs integrated into a traditional business model, I think of product serialization. I think about customer warranties and transferable warranties. The list goes on. And each one of these things I'm rattling off could be a business in and of itself, but we got to pick and choose and focus where we're going to put our efforts.
Yeah, and I think one thing I see for like online e-commerce brands could be like a loyalty type of program, right? When someone's a part of a loyalty program, holding that in your wallet is it's pure verification that you are a part of that loyalty program. And
Yep.
I've always said I could see it as far as your insurance policy being verifiable as an NFT, that it's active, right? It could immediately show that you're paid up on time with the metadata and stuff like that. I could see potentially identity theft that far, like being on the blockchain, your social security and stuff like that is secured by your personal seed phrase, and only an error by you could compromise that. You know, with all the scams that happen in the world, someone's identity's gotten stolen in the last 7 minutes since we're live. So I
Yep.
think there's applications as far down as, you know, just businesses and big corporations, and as far up as potentially the government. And you never know how far this thing could go. So let's just kind of immediately, I want to hear your thoughts. What would you recommend to these failed NFT drops, right? So with your music acronym, and I know you're not targeting artists, for example, but with the Chris Brown drop, for example, what kind of strategy would you want to see from these types of influencers, musicians, and brands that come into the space? And it seems like they lack a lot of knowledge because 1 million followers doesn't necessarily equate to selling out an NFT collection in this industry.
Mhm.
So what do you see as the biggest flaw in the space as far as the way that musicians, actors, influencers are coming into the NFT space?
It's a good question. Putting me on the spot, but I think I got an answer for you. Um, I look at NFTs as a promise of future value. And if you look at 99.9% of the projects, a promise of things to come. It's like, hey, give me your money, mint my project, and I promise I'm going to deliver on this value of my roadmap or whatever I promised you. The problem is that the majority of people that are promising that value don't have the business skills or the in real life experience to really truly deliver on that value. And so you have a lot of people that are minting, having a successful launch, and they have this influx of money, but then cash flow, cash management, what to do, how to properly invest that money, how to build that and scale it in a business model. It's very difficult. And
Yeah.
like I said, 99% of the people in this space are not business people. So that's one thing. I believe that many of these artists and influencers are rushing to market. I mean, everybody, we heard it during the bull run. It takes 60 to 90 days to launch a successful NFT project. It's really tough to truly create a business model, a roadmap, and then deliver on that real value in 60 to 90 days. To me, it's just unrealistic. I get the hype. I get capitalizing on the height of the excitement of the hype. But when you think long term, that's not doing right by your investors. So I think that people go into it a little bit naive, and they think that it's going to be easier than it is. And when you say it's a flop, I mean, maybe they didn't do the proper marketing and value associated to their holders. Um, Even the ones that sell out, usually they just fizzle and the floor just drops over time. So what I'm really trying to build here is a real brand. It's not a project. It doesn't have a beginning and an end, but we're building a brand, and we're going to utilize our real business skills to scale that brand and to make it something special in this space. So yeah, I think rush to market, not really thoughtfully thinking through the value proposition. Those are the two biggest mistakes.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And it's the lack of knowledge of NFT. The NFT crowd. Just because, and as I said, just because you have a million followers doesn't mean even that you have 10,000 people potentially to buy and sell out an NFT with
Mhm.
little to no marketing. It almost feels like some of these celebrity drops just come out of nowhere and then they launch and then boom, that kind of never mints out and it gets this public headline. And it kind of sets the industry back a little bit, in my opinion. When people see these failed drops from big brands and influencers, they're just like, oh, another scam or
Mm.
another cash grab. That's kind of in their mind. So let's get into Opus Labs because I think that what you guys are doing over here could be a big solution to everything that we kind of just talked about on how to bring to market NFT integration into traditional businesses. So, in your own words, tell the audience, what is Opus Labs?
Yeah, so Opus Labs is, like I said before, it's going to be an agency and a brand that helps every aspect of facilitating a successful project launch or an integration of blockchain technology into a legacy business model. Some of the reasons that I think we're going to be scaled for success is that we're not going to be creating Web3 projects out of nothing. We're only going to be dealing with established real world brands that I believe will truly benefit from those services and from that go-to-market strategy. There's not going to be any rug pulls because these people have been around for decades and decades, and they have a legacy and a name and a brand name that they need to protect. So again, we're not limiting ourselves only to the music business. We are focusing on that because I believe that that's our first opportunity to make a name for ourselves and to be successful out of the gate. Um, and so again, every aspect of the project, from brainstorming creative utility and helping these manufacturers to come up with the value to associate to their NFTs and offer to their holders, to actual smart contracts development, social media, community building, management, maintenance after the launch. I mean, basically, your one-stop shop. Um, what I've done is I've assembled a team of very, very successful in real life professionals. You guys can see all on the website. Everybody is fully doxed. Everybody is very successful in real life in their own verticals or their own businesses. Um, and our whole strategy here is to be transparent, to tell the truth, to put ourselves out there, to be accessible to our community. I think that this is all very refreshing in this space because there's not a lot of that. So check us out. You can see who the team is, and again, people that I respect tremendously in my life. I like to say we put together the Avengers of the Web3 space. I don't want to be cocky, but I really would put our team up against pretty much anybody in the space. I'm that confident about that.
Yeah, and go ahead. Seems
I
like
was
you're
just
about to.
going to, yeah, I was going to continue on about our own project launch and our
Yeah.
own collection of NFTs. So our collection of NFTs that we're going to be launching before working with a partner is going to be our Maestro collection. And I chose the Maestro because if you think about a maestro, it's a person in a leadership position. It's like think of a conductor who's conducting an orchestra. And the analogy that I like to make is that when you hear an orchestra warming up, you've got all these different personalities and all these different instruments, shapes and sizes, and it's this mess of sound. And you have one individual who's able to make sense of all of that, much like the Web3 space is to many Web2 businesses, and create this masterpiece, this beautiful piece of music. So that's the analogy of what my aim and hope is for Opus Lab, is to take all of this noise, all of this thoughts of scams and this misunderstanding, and just make it make sense to these businesses and help them to deploy a successful launch. There's going to be 3,333 in our collection. And what that's going to give the holder, the primary utility, is going to be a lifetime allow list for every single project and partner that Opus Labs brings to the table in the future. So it's only going to be blue chip brands. It's no cap on it. So it's really perpetually, it could be a major, major investment for somebody that does mint it. There's going to be 4 different rarities associated with it. And I don't know that this has even been done in the space. I like to think I'm trying to be innovative here. There's going to be discounts off future mints. So there's going to be a rare, which gives you a lifetime allow list. There's going to be an ultra rare, which gives you 25% off of any mint in the future. There's going to be an epic, which gives you 50% off of any mint in the future. And there's going to be a really lucky handful of people that reveal a legendary, which will give you a free mint for every partner project or Opus Labs project that we do in perpetuity. So that's a little bit about our collection. I'll stop there in case you have any questions, and I'll go into the art and all that stuff that we have behind it.
Yeah, first when I was gonna butt in earlier, I was just gonna say I'm a big proponent, especially in whether it's a crypto coin, like a protocol, or whether it's an NFT. Bet on people and not promises. So when you're talking about the team first and foremost, and you can read through extensive kind of like backgrounds on every single team member, as he mentioned, fully doxed, as well as their entire business acumen is right here for you to take a look at. So I'm a big proponent of banking on people with a background and in success in business, whether it's Web3, NFTs, in business in general. So that's a big checkbox for me personally. And then it's almost like access to every bit of the ecosystem and all the launches that you guys are going to basically incubate for these brands. So it's like a foot in the door to be able to have access to all the connections and the projects that you guys bring to market. And I know you're really good friends with a lot of people in the music industry, just having seen some photos with some notable characters as well. So I could only imagine, the strings that you guys are going to be able to pull. And so as far as like the team goes and, actually connecting with these brands, what kind of interest are you guys already seeing interest from your connections in the business world to want to come over to the NFT side?
Great question too. So when I decided to launch this brand, I put it out there on my social media channels. And I was never one to like work on my social media following. I had a LinkedIn, a Facebook, and I just posted it out there. And most people didn't really reply. They're like, "Oh, congratulations, I'm interested." But it didn't like drum up the response that I wanted. And then I just recently went out to 2 trade shows back to back. I went to the NAMM show in California, and then I flew to Vegas for a show called Infocom. And I am not exaggerating when I say that over 200 people over the course of these 2 weeks had approached me, excited, wanting to hear more. They read my LinkedIn post. Nobody said anything on social, but they all came up to me in person. And I wish I had like a recording and I could just play it back, because every conversation was very similar. They had no idea what it was about.
Right.
But after 5 minutes in speaking with them, every single person, they walked away excited, wanting to know more. I have a whole bunch of follow-up conversations that I've had. I mean, we've been in real talks with the biggest global market share leading companies in the world. And the beautiful thing about the NFT technology and the approach is that there's so many different angles by which you can attack it, that if somebody had an issue or said, "Oh, that's not for me," I had 15 other examples at the ready that I could just steer the conversation that way. So, "Well, have you thought about using it like this?" And they're like, "Wow, this is absolutely, that's amazing." So the answer is yes. We've had a ton of conversations. I'm being very selective because we have brands that already kind of said, "Yes, we want to do this," but I don't want to start there. I think to really make a major splash, I want to be disruptive. I want to go after the whales of my industry. And then once you successfully work with some of the biggest brand names, then everybody else kind of follows. So we're being incredibly selective, and I've got a very high level of confidence that we're going to be able to announce some really cool partnerships soon.
Yeah, and I think it's one thing too. I know you didn't mention this here. I know it's on the website as well, but you're very active in the NFT game as an investor as well. So you see a lot of different things across the space, across different projects. So I know, like, I believe you told me this privately, but just to make sure it's on here, with your 7-figure NFT portfolio, right? So that's very, I would say, most people don't have a 7-figure NFT portfolio. So it's not
Full
only
disclosure, I wrote that last month. So it might be a 5-figure portfolio now, but I'm just joking.
freaking
But yeah.
NFTs. Freaking NFTs. And I think that's valuable. The reason I bring that up is you've seen a lot across the space. What goes good with projects, what works and what doesn't work, right? Failed
Mhm.
integrations, failed partnerships, failed launches potentially. So I
Yeah.
think that is also valuable because it's not like you came into the NFT space just trying to provide a solution that you know nothing about. You are very deep into the Web3 and NFT space, and you're going to have that wherewithal to be able to adjust on the fly with these big brands or influencers, or as you said, like music manufacturers, to be able to steer them in the right direction and actually steer them towards success. And I wanted to also ask you this really quickly for those who might not understand when you differentiated it, when you
Mhm.
said you were going for the manufacturers and not the artists or the studios. Could you maybe define kind of what that means as far as the music manufacturers?
Yeah, it's everybody that makes the gear that we all of the artists use. For example, I'm using a Shure microphone. You're using.
I think you just disconnected your mic. I think you just disconnected your microphone. Check your settings. Check your settings. You might need to reset your mic. When you touched it, I think you disconnected it. Go to settings on the bottom of the StreamYard. It's all good. Hang on one second. Yeah, while his mic is disconnected, guys, be sure to drop down and hit the like button if you enjoy the video and the value that Bryan is dropping on the stream, as well as towards the NFT space, as well as subscribe to the channel for videos here every single day on Crypto Banter. Let's see if he's back. It says his mic isn't connected. Uh, Not sure. So we'll kind of just carry the conversation really quickly while he figures that out. But as he was mentioning, the legendary tier for the drop will get free mints for all projects. The epic will have 50% off all mints. The ultra rare will have 25% off all mints, and the rare will receive an allow list for all future mints. So very high utility considering the connections that Bryan and Opus Labs do have. A lot of potential to come your way if you were a holder or a mentor of one of these rares or legendaries, etc., because you're going to have access of the incubation of all the projects that Opus Labs is bringing to the table. I know that they have their Twitter, Opus Labs HQ, and you can also follow Bryan at Bryan Ottens on Twitter. And I think he's back. I think he's back. Hang on. Switch your source at the bottom. Go to settings and set your audio to the Shure microphone, and then I think you'll be a-okay. Bring him on here real quick.
Into the StreamYard.
How
All
about
right, I can hear you now. That works too.
now? Okay, great. Okay, so anyway, let's continue this. I'm so sorry, guys.
All good. You must have
So
gave it a good love tap when you were talking about the manufacturing.
the problem was on the stand, the USB twisted a little bit, so it's all good. You guys can see my my studio setup here at least now. So anyway, like I was saying, every single Shure microphone sold in the New York metro area since 1931 has gone through my company. So that's the kind of relationships that we have in this space, just to give you a decent idea. But answering your question, it's the manufacturers of the gear that make all the guitars, microphones, musical instruments, drums, you name it. Every one of the global market share leading manufacturers, I've got the relationships with.
Yeah, that's incredible. You told me that about the Shure microphone thing, and my mind was blown. I was just like, that is one of the craziest things. And that's fantastic. And that just shows the level of brands and connections that your business history has brought you, right? And with your Web 2 company and now bridging that gap to Web 3. I think it's incredible.
I appreciate it. And that's, again, I say it just to lend credibility, because I'm not somebody that's just saying, yeah, I'm going to bridge the gap between Web 2 and Web 3. Being on the board of directors for NAMM, I'm on the board with like the CEO of Gibson Guitars, for example. It doesn't get much bigger than that when I'm with him and his wife at the pool at the Ritz-Carlton during a board meeting. You know, people don't have this access. So again, that just lends the credibility. That's the target demographic that we're going after. Again, my founding team has a lot more relationships outside of the music business. So I'm not going to limit ourselves to just the music industry, but we've got that opportunity.
Yeah, of course. And like in my head, even as you're talking with the, with Gibson guitars, think about verifying the authenticity of like a one of one guitar with the NFT that you own, which is basically their certificate of ownership, which can never be burnt in a fire, can never be lost, can never be ripped up. It is digitally verifiable on the blockchain to be a one of one, or maybe previously owned by some rock star or something like that. So like, to the collectible side of things, I see that being big.
Or think about holders of an NFT collection having first access to a limited release of those guitars. You know, they make new guitars, they have limited editions all the time, and it gets eaten up immediately by investors. Well, what if you had to be the holder of an NFT in order to have access to that? Just another use value prop for a manufacturer.
Yeah, absolutely. I love everything that you guys are doing. And I can tell from the audience as we're seeing everyone talking about great show, great guests. So, Bryan, tell everyone where they can find Opus Labs. I know opus-labs.io, as well as Opus Labs HQ on Twitter. What could people also look forward to in the coming weeks and months?
Yeah, just one more thing that I wanted to give you guys about, just because I have a commitment to deliver excellence and to not cut corners on anything. Instead of just making this a pass, the piece of art, just doing like a membership pass or a ticket, like there's a lot of people that just have this credit card looking piece of art. What we did was we commissioned a world-class artist to create our Maestro. And going through that creative process alone was just phenomenal. But you guys can all look him up. His name is Paul Tobin, Tobin. And Paul is the guy that was the concept artist that developed all of the characters for The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings trilogy, Avatar, Blade Runner, The Expanse, these huge blockbuster movie hits. Go check out his artwork. When you look at his concept characters and then you remember the movie, that's the character. So Paul is the guy that we worked with to develop our Maestro. I'm blown away at the final piece of art. And even when we added the traits to it, it's phenomenal. What I had said is, if you strip away everything that Opus Labs is, utility and everything, I wanted our NFT to stand alone as a piece of art. And I believe with a name like Paul, with his entree into the NFT space like this, we'll succeed in doing that as well.
Yeah, the other day when we were speaking too, you were like, just look him up. Just look up his art. And I did. And I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah, that's going to be insane. Just knowing what he's worked on and the stuff you can find online from the artist. Yeah, I agree. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that. I mean, I would encourage everybody, just for the show, because you've got such a great following, I opened up our Discord. We've had a closed Discord up until this point. It's open. So I really would encourage everybody to come to the Discord. We're just at the beginning. So there's 3,333 piece collection. I've got about 1,700 people in the Discord just organically so far. So you're really, really early. I'm always accessible and available. One of the utilities and value that I wanted to bring while we're building this brand is I've kind of given one-on-one access to anybody that wants to use it for me and my founding team. So I've now done dozens of one-on-one phone calls, helping people with just business advice or entrepreneurial advice or anything that they really would need. So I'm here, I'm transparent. Go check out the Discord, go talk to anybody in the community. And I think that they'll show you how open and accessible we've been as a founding team. And I think you're just going to see that we're different. We're not another NFT project. We're truly building a brand.
Yeah, I agree completely. I love everything you guys are doing. And Bryan, thank you so much for coming on and sharing the value on your business background as well as everything on the NFT industry, where you see this going for businesses and the utility behind Opus Labs and what the Mint will provide. I think it was a great show. And as I can see in the chat box, people are loving the alpha, so to speak, that we were dropping in this edition. So guys, follow Opus Labs on Twitter, Opus Labs HQ, as well as follow Bryan on Twitter, Bryan Ottens. So we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Like the video if you enjoyed the video or if you got value out of the video. Subscribe for videos here every single day. I'll be back Friday with the final show of In the Game on this week. As always, play well, my friends.
What?